Hey everyone, welcome back with another session of geography. I hope you all are doing well. So today we'll start a new chapter, that is drainage. So let's begin. Drainage. Now the flow of water through well-defined channels is known as drainage, and the network of such channels is known as the drainage system. Okay. So the term drainage describes the river system of an area. If we look at the physical map, we'll notice that small streams flowing from different directions come together to form the main river, and which ultimately drains into a large water body such as a lake or a sea or an ocean. Now, the area drained by a single river system is called a drainage basin. Fine. Now, if we if we give a closer observation on a map, it will indicate that any elevated area such as a mountain or an upland, it separates two drainage basins. Now, such an upland is known as a water divide. For example, if you see the Ambala water divide, we have on one side we have the Indus river system, on the other side we have the Ganga river system. Now, if you see guys, the world's largest drainage basin in the world, the Amazon basin is considered as the largest drainage basin. And if you see in India, the Ganga river has the largest basin in our country. Fine. Now, next up we have, that is the drainage system in India. Now, the drainage systems of India are mainly controlled by the broad relief features of the subcontinent. Now, accordingly, the Indian rivers are divided into two major groups. One, we have the Himalayan rivers, another, we have the peninsular rivers. Now, if you see Himalayan rivers, the three major Himalayan rivers, that is the Indus river system, Ganga river system, and the Brahmaputra river system. And under the peninsular rivers, if you see, it's Mahanadi, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, Narmada, and Tapi. They are the main ones. Now, if you see guys, apart from originating from the two major physiographic regions of India, the Himalayan and the peninsular rivers are different from each other in many ways. So let's discuss some of them. Now, if we see, most of the Himalayan rivers, they are perennial. That means they have water throughout the year. And these rivers, they receive water from rain as well as from the melted snow glaciers from the lofty mountains that we have. Now, if you see, for example, two major Himalayan rivers, the Indus and the Brahmaputra, they originate from the north of the mountain ranges, and they have cut through the mountains, making the gorges. Now, what is this gorge? A gorge is a narrow valley with steep rocky walls located between hills or mountains. Fine. Now, these Himalayan rivers, they have long courses from their source to the sea. So basically, they have long courses from their source to the sea. Now, they perform intensive erosional activity in their upper courses, and they carry huge loads of silt and sand. Now, in the middle and the lower courses, if you see, these rivers, they form meanders and oxbow lakes, and also other depositional features in their floodplains. Now, if you see, what is this meanders? Now, meanders, that means the bend of the river. Now, rivers flowing over gently sloping ground begin to curve back and forth across the landscape, and that is called the meandering rivers. Okay. Now, if you see in the whole world, there are lots of rivers. They have beautiful meandering courses. Now, if you see in India, the Ganga, Yamuna, and Ghagra, they originate in the Himalayas, and they have beautiful meandering course. Next up, that is the Oxbow Lake. That is also called the U-shaped lake. Now, it's a curved lake formed from a horseshoe bend in a river where the main stream has cut across the narrow end and no longer flows around the loop of the bend. Now that is it's a curved lake that was originally a bend in a river, but it became separated when the river started to take a new and straighter course. Okay, so these kinds of depositional features in the floodplain areas, the rivers, they form these features. Now all these rivers, they also have well developed deltas. They also have well developed deltas. Now just take a sneak peek of all the features of the Himalayan rivers. One, that is they are perennial in nature. So these rivers, they cause erosion, they have great flow of water. These rivers are meandering. These rivers originate in the Himalayas. These rivers irrigate the northern plains. The Himalayan river basins are also very fertile. So these rivers, they carry a very long distance. And lastly, you can just add up which are the three main Himalayan rivers. So these are basically the features of the Himalayan rivers. Fine. Now next up, if you see guys, peninsular rivers. Now a large number of the peninsular rivers are seasonal. That means their flow is dependent on the rainfall during the monsoon time. Okay, and during the dry season, even the large rivers, they have reduced flow of water in their channels. Okay, and because of this, the peninsular rivers, they have shorter and shallower courses if we compare it with the Himalayan counterparts. Shallower courses, that means water of such depth that surface waves are noticeably affected by the bottom topography. Now typically this implies a water depth equivalent to less than half the wavelength. That is, the depth of the water becomes very low, okay, during the dry season. Fine. Now however, some of them originate in the central highlands and flow towards the west. Now such rivers such as Narmada, for example, if you see in the map, Narmada and Tapti, they originate in the central highlands and flow towards the west. And most of the rivers, basically most of the rivers of the peninsular India, they originate in the western Ghats and flow towards the Bay of Bengal. For example, if you see Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, all these, they flow towards the Bay of Bengal. Fine. So that's all we have in this session. I hope this session helped you a lot. So in the next session, we will discuss about the Himalayan river system one by one. So until the next time, bye bye.